Okay, here we are now at video number 20. I'll do it on my hands. 10, 20. And we're starting to get a little bit further down the rabbit hole now. So I thought for this video, I'd do a recap. And if you did indeed start at video number 1, I hope you remember that I told you all things are new. So are you coming to terms with that? That all things really are new? And that everything we were previously convinced to believe was not true? Because now that all things are new, something very different really is happening. So that's my plan. I'll just do a quick recap of what things might now be new that we've learned so far on this journey down a very deep rabbit hole. Because from here on in, it's going to get more intensely profound. And if you don't understand the basics, all things new 101, it will get more difficult. So now probably is a very good time to do a recap. And for this video, I actually made a list. I had to write it down, and I know I haven't captured everything, but some of the things that my audience should now be coming to terms with, at this point in the rabbit hole. So let's do that. A quick recap. So here it is, the list. I'll start at the top. So it's not just a cult full of a bunch of evil men trying to steal your money and telling you lies and flip-flopping doctrines and full of injustices and corruption. There actually is something of very divine importance happening here to an exclusive, esoteric group of people now consisting of hundreds of thousands who are all being hated, excluded, reproached, excluded by reason of God's actual name. So, is that new? It's very different to what the rest of the ex-Jehovah's Witness community insist on trying to have everyone else believe. It's not just a cult. So there you go, there's one. There's a really big difference between Jesus Christ's kingdom and God's kingdom. And so all the rest of Christianity, all those other denominations, including people in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, they're looking for something righteous to identify Jesus Christ's kingdom and say, hey, look, what a wonderful righteous place. This must be Jesus Christ's kingdom. When in fact, what they should be looking for is a kingdom that's been completely undermined by Satan and fully infested with his weeds. So all of Christianity and almost all of the people in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, they're looking for something righteous. And so they're not seeing that it really was or is Jesus Christ's kingdom, full of weeds. So that's new. And yet it's in the Bible. Jesus Christ said it. So that's something to think about. So is there a difference between Jesus Christ's kingdom and God's kingdom? No weeds will even enter God's kingdom. So, yeah, there's a big difference. And almost all of popular Christianity, including the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, they don't see that. That's something new to them. So, another thing about the difference between Jesus Christ's kingdom and God's kingdom is that God's kingdom will not come with striking observableness. And yet Jesus Christ's kingdom came with crowds in front and crowds behind, with palm branches and clothes being laid on the road in front of him, and people singing songs and praises. So there really is a difference between Jesus Christ's kingdom and God's kingdom. So if we are the ones undergoing a new birth, that's a very basic Christianity 101 thing that we should all understand if we're hoping to see God's kingdom. What next? Oh, it's only excommunicated Christians who will at first be guided into all the truth with help that originates from Jesus Christ. That's new because no one in Christianity or in the Watchtower Society is looking for a very esoteric group of excommunicated Christians who might now be learning the truth. That's completely different to what everyone else believes. That's new. Oh, another new thing is that it's this very esoteric group of excommunicated Christians who God himself, through commandments from Jesus Christ and commandments given to us by the apostles and written down almost 2,000 years ago, it's those excommunicated Christians who are now expected to observe those commandments. That's new. There's actually something that these excommunicated Christians should now be doing instead of grieving at their situation, being shunned by the family, hated by their brothers, reproached and persecuted in all kinds of different ways. But there's actually something amazing that this hated group of excommunicated Christians should now be doing. That's new. Turn the page. That it's through observing those commandments that white outer garments can be obtained. And that through observing those same commandments, Satan himself can indeed be conquered. That's new. And that those conquering, there really is a great reward for them, an inheritance reserved in the heavens for them. That's new. Here's something new. Jesus Christ has already come as a thief and taken people away. And no one noticed. It's a miracle. That's new. And if we know who's being taken away, we now also know who it is that has been left behind and where it is that they've been left in a truly precarious, horrific situation. That's new. Oh, something new is the question's being answered. Who really is the faithful and discreet slave? That's new. We know the answer. Not only that, we know when the proper time was. We know what the food is that we're expected to feed. And we know who the domestics are. That's all new. Here's something new. We realize that there is a difference between Jesus Christ's coming and his eventual appearance with rejoicing on our part. Well, we hope that there is rejoicing on our part, but there's some things that it still depends on. That's new, isn't it? Think about it. What did you used to believe? And what should you now be believing? We really do know through many, many different scriptural proofs throughout the Bible who those people are that should be found rejoicing at the eventual appearance of Jesus Christ. We know who the ones who might be standing when he appears. And all of that is still dependent on whether people are actually able to put up with his coming as a thief and taking people away while no one else notices. And so this is a very important part of waking up. Because if you can see that Jesus Christ has indeed come as a thief, if you're one of those people, you are now awake. Because throughout the Bible, when he talks about coming as a thief, it's always associated with people who are awake. That's new, isn't it? Oh, we also understand that there's nothing we've done to deserve any of this, that we were simply selected through God's mercy, and that it doesn't matter how many field service hours we reported or how good we were at giving public talks in front of the Kingdom Hall, or how well we answered questions during the Watchtower study, or how often or how well we did in the door-to-door ministry. None of it's important. None of it's up to anyone else. It's not even up to us. The decision was made in heaven by God himself. We had nothing to do with it. It's complete and total mercy. That's, in a way, it's kind of a little bit humiliating, but we should also get relief from realizing that, yep, it's only due to God's mercy. So there's a lot of Christian denominations saying, oh, it's by God's grace that we're saved. Oh, really? So just how much grace do you think is the extent of God's mercy? Is it just a little bit of mercy, or is it enormous amount of mercy? And through appreciating just how much mercy we did in fact, or are in fact now receiving, can we glorify God, thank Him, beautify His name? I think we could and should. We really should. So, is that something new? The size of the mercy that God Himself is extending to us, it's not a little bit of mercy, as most of the rest of Christianity believe. Turn the page. Oh, we know that God's kingdom will start with the tiniest of seeds, a mustard seed, right? So it won't come with striking observableness. It will start with one person. Well, unless you thought it was actually going to be a mustard seed, but there's only one thing that tiniest of seeds can represent: a person. One. So that's new. We were never taught that anywhere in Christianity or the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, that the mustard seed has to be just one person. That's new. Another thing that's relatively new is that God's kingdom would not appear at the end, after the end. God's kingdom would manifest itself in the final part of the days. God's kingdom would manifest itself before the end. And so, if we really do think we're living during the time of the end, then, and that we're in the final part of that, then where's God's kingdom? That's a new thing to think about, because no one else ever taught that to me. What about you? Is that new? Here's something new. We are all now being judged. In fact, we've already received a judgment. A decision had to be made in heaven if Jesus Christ came and took you away. And so we are now undergoing a judgment that will likely continue right up to the end, when final decisions will be made on who you are. But hold on, I haven't talked about that yet. Yeah, that's further down the rabbit hole. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun on that one. But it's still new, right? So we understand that everything we do now is being very carefully listened to and measured. What we say, what we do, what we don't say, what we don't do, it's all being measured, and that will determine if we are indeed written into the book of life. But we also know that it's very possible that our names could be blotted out. And why? That's pretty new to understand who that is and how it happens. So, are all of those things new? Think of it. I've just given you a pretty short list, and I haven't mentioned everything I talked about in the last 19 videos. Just some of the most important things that might be all new. And so, if these things really are all new, then what we were previously convinced to believe, it wasn't true. There really are new things happening. So, our all of those matters now being set straight in your head regarding all kinds of different things and all the things that Christian people were previously convinced to believe. So, okay, now I haven't read a scripture yet, so there's a couple I have in mind. Yeah, let's read Micah chapter 4. Let's read that again now. Something else that I forgot to write on the list. If it is indeed us who are being judged first, remember what it said in 2 Thessalonians? In order that they all may be judged. So if it really is us who have been judged first, remember what Peter said? The judgment will start with the house of God, the house of Jehovah. That's an important thing. It's not new, but at least now we should know who it is that's being judged first, because a decision was made in the heavens, a selection was made by God, and we are the brothers loved by God. So if the judgment starts with us, what next? So now I'll read Micah chapter 4, starting in verse 1. And it must occur in the final part of the days that the house of Jehovah will become firmly established above the top of the mountains, and it will certainly be lifted up above the top of the hills, and to it peoples must stream, and many nations will certainly go and say, "Come, you people, and let us go up to the mountain of Jehovah, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will instruct us about his ways, and we will walk in his path. For out of Zion law will go forth, command upon command, and the word of Jehovah out of Jerusalem. And he will certainly render judgment among many peoples, and set matters straight respecting mighty nations far away." So, can you see it? That's a very important question. So, are all things new? It's a decision that after watching 19 videos you should be thinking about. How new is it? It's very new to what we were all previously convinced to believe, isn't it? It's amazing. Everything Jesus Christ said would happen is really happening. So, I think to finish this video, I'll read a scripture that I started this video series with in video number 1. And I'll read it a little further, because by this time you should understand what it says further down in that scripture. So I'll finish the video with that scripture. So here we are in Isaiah chapter 43, and I'll start in verse 18. This is what I read at the very beginning of the video series. Do not remember the first things, and to the former things do not turn your consideration. Look, I am doing something new. Now it will spring up. You people will know it. Will you not? Really, through the wilderness I shall set a way. Through the desert rivers, the wild beast of the field will glorify me. The jackals and the ostriches, because I shall have given water, even in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, to cause my people, my chosen one, to drink. The people whom I have formed for myself, that they should recount the praise of me. You should declare abroad the excellencies of the one that brought you out of darkness into his wonderful light.